At 80, I've learned a lot about life, some the easy way, some the hard way. But there's one decision I deeply regret. Moving into a nursing home. At the time, it seemed like the right choice. My family encouraged it, promising that I would have everything I needed: care, comfort, safety. They said I would be safer, that I wouldn't have to worry about meals, chores, or anything stressful. And I believed them. But when I got there, everything changed. Was this really the best choice? I know some of you reading this may be considering this for yourself or for someone you love. You may have been told it's the safest option. You'll have everything taken care of. It's the best way to enjoy your later years. That's what I thought too. But before you make this life-changing decision, here are 6 things I wish someone had told me. Because the truth is, living in a nursing home isn't just a lifestyle change. It's an everything change. And once you're in, getting out isn't as simple as you think. So stick with me until the end, because some of these lessons may shock you. And if you know someone who's considering a nursing home, this might be exactly what they need to hear. Now let's get started. The first morning I woke up in the nursing home, I reached for my book. The same one I had been reading at home, the one I always kept by my bedside. But when my hand landed on the nightstand, it was empty. That's when it hit me. This wasn't my home, my chair. The one that fit my back just right wasn't here. The kitchen where I used to make my morning coffee? Gone. The sound of my own footsteps moving through the house, deciding when to open the blinds, what to eat for breakfast. All of it was gone. But the hardest part? It wasn't just about losing my things. It was losing control of my life, freedom, disguised as convenience. Before I moved in, I had my routines. Not big, dramatic routines, just the kind of daily habits that made life feel like my own. I woke up when I wanted to. I decided what to eat and when. I went for walks when I felt like it. But here, everything ran on their schedule, not mine. Breakfast was at 7:30 a.m., whether I was hungry or not. Lights out at 9 p.m., even if I wasn't tired. Want to go outside? You might need permission. At first, I thought I could adjust, that I'd find a way to make it work. But over time, I realized something. This wasn't a temporary change. It was a shift in who I was. I stopped arguing when they told me what was for dinner. I stopped asking if I could take a walk. I just accepted it. And that's the most dangerous part. You don't lose your independence all at once. You give it up one small piece at a time. Independence isn't just about big decisions. It's about the little ones too. We don't always think about how much our small choices matter until we can't make them anymore. What to wear today? Someone else picks it. Want an extra cup of coffee? You get what's served. Feel like sitting outside? You wait for someone to take you. And when you're used to living life on your own terms, even these tiny restrictions start to feel like chains. I remember sitting on the edge of my bed, staring at the white walls and thinking, how did I get here? And if I don't fight for myself, who will? The hard truth, independence, once lost, is almost impossible to get back. You tell yourself you'll keep doing things your way, that you won't let go of your freedom. But here's what I learned. Once you stop making decisions, people stop asking what you want. Once you let others take control, you forget what it feels like to have it. And once you give up your independence, it's almost impossible to get it back. If you're considering a nursing home, ask yourself this. Are you ready to give up the little freedoms that make life yours? Because once they're gone, you'll miss them more than you ever imagined. Regret. Now, feeling forgotten when the world moves on without you. At first, it wasn't so bad. My daughter visited every Sunday, just like she promised. My grandchildren stopped by after school, filling my afternoons with stories about their friends and soccer games. My son called every Wednesday evening without fail, checking in to see if I needed anything. For a while, I still felt connected, like I was part of their world, but then life kept moving. The silent shift. The first time my daughter missed a visit, she called to apologize. Mom, I'm so sorry. Work has been crazy this week. I'll come next Sunday. Next Sunday came and went. The grandkids got busier, homework, sports, social lives. My son still called, but sometimes he'd be distracted, multitasking while talking. I could hear it in his voice, the rush, the impatience. At first, I told myself it was just a phase, that things would settle down. But the weeks turned into months. And suddenly I was sitting in the common room, watching other residents stare at the door, hoping today would be the day someone remembered them. The hardest part? Realizing it's not their fault. It's not that my family stopped loving me. It's just that when you're not part of someone's daily life, it's easy to assume you're fine, that you're adjusting, that you don't need as much attention anymore. But the truth is you still do. I'll never forget one evening, sitting in my tiny room, holding my phone. My fingers hovered over my son's name in my contact list. Should I call him? I missed him. I missed hearing about his life, about work, the kids, the little things. But I didn't want to be a burden. I didn't want him to feel obligated to talk to me. So I put the phone down. And that's when it hit me. This was my life now, watching the days go by, hoping someone would remember to include me. Out of sight, out of mind. I wish I could say this was just my experience, but it's not. I've seen so many residents here go through the same thing. One of my closest friends at the home, Mr. Andrews, was a retired history professor. Brilliant man. He had 4 kids, 11 grandkids, and for the first few months, his room was always full of visitors. Then, just like with me, the visits slowed. One day, I found him sitting alone in the lounge, staring out the window. "Waiting for your family?" I asked. He sighed, then gave me a small smile. "I think they've already forgotten I'm here." I didn't know what to say because I knew exactly how he felt. Are you ready for the loneliness? If you're considering a nursing home, ask yourself, how often do you really think your family will visit? What happens when the visits become less frequent? Are you prepared for the feeling of being left behind? No matter how much your family loves you, once you are out of sight, it's easier than you think to become out of mind. And that's a truth no one tells you until it's too late. Regret. Molly, losing my sense of purpose when every day feels the same. At home, I had responsibilities, nothing grand, just the small, everyday things that gave my life structure and meaning. I'd wake up and brew my own coffee, enjoying the rich aroma as I read the morning paper. I'd water my plants, checking their leaves to make sure they were healthy. I'd tidy up my space, not because I had to, but because it felt good to keep my home just the way I liked it. It may not seem like much, but these small rituals made me feel like I was living, not just existing, the moment I realized something was missing. At first, I thought the nursing home would be a nice change of pace, no more chores, no more responsibilities, just rest and relaxation. But after a few weeks, something felt off. Without my usual routines, the days stretched endlessly. I'd wake up in the morning and think, what am I supposed to do today? Meals were brought to me, my laundry was done for me, and my bed was made before I even had the chance. I no longer had to plan, to think ahead, to engage in the simple acts of daily living that made me feel in control of my own life. And I wasn't the only one feeling it when life becomes waiting. I saw it in the other residents too. Take George, for example, an 84-year-old retired carpenter whose hands had once built beautiful furniture, intricate cabinets, and sturdy homes. He had spent decades working with wood, shaping something useful from nothing. But here, there were no tools, no projects, nothing for him to create. I remember sitting with him one afternoon. He was staring at his hands, his fingers slowly tapping against his knee. "I feel useless," he muttered. "I used to fix things. Now I just sit here." I knew exactly what he meant. Because when you no longer have something to care for, something to work toward, Life starts losing its meaning. First, your mind slows down. Then your body follows. And soon enough, you start to feel like just another resident in a place where time moves. But nothing ever really changes. What happens when you stop feeling needed? One of the most painful realizations about living in a nursing home isn't just losing control of your daily routines. It's realizing that for the first time, you don't feel needed anymore. At home, I was part of something bigger. My family, my community, my life. Even in small ways, I contributed. I was the one who people turned to for advice. I had neighbors who knocked on my door for a chat. I had my grandkids who asked for my stories. Here, no one was waiting for me to do anything. There were no more projects, no more responsibilities, no more reasons to get up in the morning. It's not just about filling time. It's about fighting to hold on to the things that make you feel alive. Regret. Declining health faster than expected, when rest turns into weakness. Before I moved into a nursing home, I thought I was doing pretty well for my age. No, I wasn't running marathons, but I could still take care of myself. I went for walks every day. I cooked my own meals. I did my own grocery shopping. I stretched every morning just to keep my legs strong. These small habits kept me moving, kept me strong. But once I moved in, everything changed. Taking it easy isn't always a good thing. At first, it seemed like a nice break. No more grocery shopping, no more cooking. If I needed something, I could just push a button and someone would come help. Meals were served to me. Everything was made as easy as possible. I thought I was just resting. What I didn't realize was that the less I did for myself, the weaker I became. Slowly, I started moving less. I wasn't walking as much. I wasn't standing in the kitchen, stretching up to reach ingredients. I wasn't even getting up from my chair as often. At first, it didn't seem like a big deal. Then one day I noticed something. The day I realized I was losing strength. I was sitting in the common room reading. When I went to stand up from my chair, I had to push down on the armrest to lift myself. That had never happened before. The muscles I had spent a lifetime maintaining were disappearing faster than I ever expected. And it wasn't just me. I saw it happen to others too. People who had walked in on their own 2 feet were suddenly using walkers. People who had once been independent now needed help with things they never struggled with before. The more help we were given, the more we seemed to need it. Losing strength faster than you think. One of my neighbors, Alice, was an 81-year-old woman who was full of life when she first arrived. She told me, just because I'm in a nursing home doesn't mean I'm slowing down. She walked every morning, refusing to let age slow her down. But then she started walking less. Then she started using a walker. Then one day I saw her in a wheelchair. I asked her what happened. She sighed and said, "I don't know when it happened, but I feel like I aged 10 years in just a few months." That's exactly what it felt like. Movement isn't just about convenience. It's about surviving. When you stop using your body, you start losing it. And in a nursing home where everything is designed to make life effortless, it's easy to forget that movement isn't just about convenience. It's about survival. If I had known how quickly I would lose my strength, I would have fought harder to stay active. I would have walked more. I would have pushed myself, even on the days I didn't feel like it. Because once you slow down, getting back up isn't as easy as you think. Are you ready for this reality? If you're considering a nursing home, ask yourself this. Will you still push yourself to stay active, even when everything is designed to make life easier? Will you have the motivation to move when you don't have to? Are you willing to fight to keep your strength? Because once you lose it, you may never get it back. Regret. Losing privacy and dignity when your life is no longer your own. One of the things I didn't fully grasp before moving into a nursing home was just how much privacy I would lose. At home, I had my own space. If I wanted to sit in silence, I could. If I wanted to close my door and shut out the world, that was my choice. Here, privacy was a luxury I no longer had. The unspoken reality of waiting need to use the bathroom Press the call button and wait, sometimes minutes, sometimes longer. If you're lucky, someone comes right away. If not, you sit there helpless, wondering if they forgot about you. Want to take a shower? You might have to wait until your scheduled time. And if the staff is short that day, your morning shower might not happen until the afternoon, or not at all. And meal choices? Forget it. If you don't like what's on the menu that day, well, too bad. At first, these things seem small, little inconveniences, but over time they added up, until one day I woke up and realized I was no longer in charge of my own life when even your room doesn't feel like yours. I was lucky to have a kind roommate, but many others weren't as fortunate. Some had roommates who were loud, making sleep nearly impossible. Others had roommates who struggled with cognitive decline, sometimes waking up in the middle of the night, confused and disoriented. One woman I knew, Mrs. Callahan, shared a room with a lady who had advanced dementia. Almost every night she would wake up to screaming. The nurses did what they could, but they couldn't always be there in time to stop the chaos. Can you imagine living in a place where you never truly feel at peace? I tried to make my room feel like home, brought in my favorite blanket, a few framed pictures. But no matter what I did, it never really felt mine. Because how can it feel like home when someone else dictates what you do, when you do it, and how, when you stop feeling like a person? Dignity is something you don't think about until you start losing it. When people knock but don't wait for an answer before coming in. When your schedule is made for you instead of by you. When you're spoken to like a patient instead of a person. And after a while, something shifts. You start feeling less like yourself. You stop pushing back when they tell you what to eat, where to sit, what time to sleep. You become part of the system, a nameless resident in a place where life runs like a well-oiled machine. If you're considering a nursing home, ask yourself, are you ready to give up the privacy and control you've had your entire life? Because once it's gone, getting it back isn't as easy as you think. Regret, it's harder to leave than you think when your escape plan disappears. When I first moved in, I told myself it was temporary. I'll give it a try. If I don't like it, I can always leave. I believe that, but what I didn't realize was just how hard it would be to get out once I was in. The home you left behind changes. At first, it seemed simple. If I didn't like it, I'd just go back home. But home wasn't the same anymore. My house sat empty, gathering dust. My children had started making changes, selling things they thought I wouldn't need. They even considered renting it out, because, after all, I had said this was probably permanent. And when I finally brought up the idea of going back, I saw hesitation in their faces. Are you sure you can manage on your own, Mom? Wouldn't it be safer to stay? We just want what's best for you. I knew they meant well, but I also knew that the longer I stayed here, the harder it was to convince them I could leave. Losing independence, losing strength, losing confidence. And then there was the biggest issue of all. I wasn't as strong as I used to be. Months of living in a place where I didn't have to cook, clean, or even walk far had taken their toll. My legs weren't as steady, my endurance had dropped, and most painfully, I wasn't as confident in my ability to live alone anymore. And that fear kept me stuck. I met others who had the same experience. They thought they'd try the nursing home for a while, only to realize that leaving wasn't as simple as they thought. Because the truth is, the longer you stay, the harder it is to adjust to life outside. Some people even lost the option entirely. Their homes were sold, their savings drained by the cost of care, their independence slipping away, little by little, until one day they stopped even thinking about leaving. Are you ready for that reality? If you're considering a nursing home, ask yourself, are you absolutely sure you are ready to leave your home behind? What happens if you change your mind, but can't go back? Are you prepared for the physical and mental toll of losing independence? Because once you settle in, leaving might not be as easy as you think. Final thoughts. The one lesson I wish I knew sooner. Looking back, I don't regret growing older, but I do regret believing that a nursing home was my only option. I walked in expecting comfort, security, a better quality of life. What I found instead was a place that slowly took away my independence, privacy, purpose, and even my sense of self. Does that mean all nursing homes are bad? No, some people genuinely need the care they provide. But before you make this life-changing decision, think carefully about what you're giving up. Because once you move in, life will never be the same. Final thoughts, the choice that's hard to undo. Some people think moving into a nursing home is a decision you can reverse anytime, that if you don't like it, you can simply go back to your old life. But here's the truth no one tells you. For many, leaving isn't an option, not because they don't want to, but because they can't. When your escape plan disappears, some lose their homes, sold off because their family thought they'd never need them again. Some drain their savings, the cost of care piling up, making it impossible to afford moving back out. And some lose their strength, months of reduced movement making independent living a distant memory. And before you realize it, the outside world starts to feel like a distant dream. One day you wake up, and this place, the one you swore was temporary, has become your entire world. Are you truly ready for this? If you're considering a nursing home, ask yourself this first. Are you prepared for the possibility that leaving may not be as simple as you think? Will you still have the financial means, the physical strength, and the emotional resilience to leave if you change your mind? Or will the barriers to leaving, financial, physical, and emotional, become too big to overcome? Because once you settle in, getting out is often much harder than getting in. Looking back, what I wish I had done differently. I don't regret growing older, but I do regret believing that a nursing home was my only option. I walked in expecting comfort, safety, and an easier life. What I found instead was a place that slowly stripped away my independence, privacy, purpose, and even my sense of self. Does this mean all nursing homes are bad? No. Some people genuinely need the level of care they provide. But before you make this life-changing decision, think carefully about what you're giving up. Because once you move in, life will never be the same. What I would have done instead, if I could do it all over again, I would have. Fought harder to stay in my own home, explored more options for in-home care, found ways to get support without giving up my freedom, made absolutely sure I needed to be there before making such a permanent move. Your life today is worth holding on to the habits you have now, the choices you make every day, the independence you enjoy, even in small ways. They are worth keeping for as long as you possibly can. So before you decide, ask yourself, is this truly the best choice for me? Or just the easiest one right now? Because once you trade your independence for convenience, getting it back isn't as easy as you think. Final reflection. The choices that define us, a lifetime is built on choices, some small, some life-altering. And when we reach the later chapters of our lives, we look back, not just at what we did, but at what we gave up, and whether it was truly worth it. I never thought I'd regret moving into a place designed to care for me. I never imagined I'd feel like a visitor in my own life, watching the world continue without me, as I sat in a room that was never truly mine. If I could speak to my younger self, the one standing at the crossroads, deciding whether to stay or to go, I would tell them this: independence isn't just about where you live, it's about who you are. Because once you stop making decisions for yourself, others will start making them for you. The message I hope you carry with you. If you take one thing away from this, let it be this: the life you have today, the small routines, the tiny freedoms, the moments that make you feel like you, are more precious than you realize. For you give up your home, your independence, your ability to wake up each morning and decide your own path. Be absolutely sure it's what you need, not just what's convenient. Because once you trade your freedom for comfort, getting it back may be impossible. A wise reminder from those who have lived it. An old friend of mine, Mr. Harris, once told me something that has stayed with me ever since. He was 95 years old, sitting on his porch, looking out at the street he had lived on for over 50 years. I asked him how he managed to stay so independent for so long. He smiled, looked me straight in the eye and said, "The moment you stop living for yourself is the moment people start deciding how you live." I didn't understand the weight of those words back then, but now I do, and I hope you do too. What does independence mean to you? Have you or someone you love faced a similar decision? Share your thoughts in the comments. Your story may help others make the right choice. If this has made you think differently, please like. It helps spread the message to more people. Subscribe so you never miss conversations like this, because these are the decisions that shape our lives. Take care of your freedom. Take care of yourself, because at the end of the day, the choice is still yours, but only if you fight for it.